Welcome to episode 9 of the Trail Times podcast. Going to be a little bit different this week. I went out to Salcey Forest to do a little recce of the TrailFest routes, different to our normal route, so does need to be looked at a bit more than other places. I put together quite a lot of video, so I've recorded all that, I've put it together. If you're running TrailFest, really good route information in there. If you're not and you want to hear me witter on as I run around in circles, then there's content there for you as well. If you're not signed up to TrailFest, you've still got time, hopefully, if this gets you in time. It's on Sunday, April the 6th at Salcey Forest. Loads of fun, 10k, half marathon, 50k. Really, really long cut-offs. No rush to do anything, just great fun in the forest. Watch the video, see what you think. I do mention quite a lot about the good conditions underfoot generally, mainly because of just how treacherous it's been the last couple of years. It's going to be so much better underfoot than it has been in recent years. So if that put you off if you saw it last year, don't let it put you off again this year. Excellent. I'll catch you on the other side after you've seen how I got on at Salcey Forest. I'm at Salcey Forest, and next week, no, not next week, 2 weeks time, we'll be taking over that little car park there. That'll be the HQ for TrailFest. If anybody wants to come with club gazebos or anything like that, you can set up on this little grass space here, right next to the toilets that are there, and the cafe that's there as well. So I'm out today having a look at the course. I've managed to pick the only day that it's rained in about the last 2 weeks, and I think it's only raining this morning, but this is the only window I've got to get this done. So it'll be good to see how the course is looking, but annoyingly I'm going to get wet, so I'm just going to look wetter and more bedraggled, if that's even a word, as the event goes on. But this is the start. As you can see, it starts off nice and stony, but I'm going to go and run around the first corner where it's going to very, very quickly get quite muddy. So let's see what it looks like as we get around this first corner. But it's not as bad as it was this time last year, so this might look quite muddy, but compared to last year, this is an absolute dream. But it is good that it comes within, what, the first 50 metres. So I'm going to keep going. Forgot to start my watch, so I'm going to start my watch, get going, and do some little clips as we go around. Just to highlight how muddy it is, these are my shoes before we start. This is the before picture. We'll get an after picture at the end. If you've run with us here for our normal 6-hour events, we sort of go around near the visitor centre in the opposite direction to start with. So this is quite a familiar sight, but most people are running the opposite way when they run with us on this section. This part is at the beginning of all the routes, so you can see on the ground, I mean, it's essentially stone with a bit of mud on top. So lots of good running. This is relatively flat, and I'm taking the excuse of having to film for a little walk, half a mile in. It's probably not great for showing my fitness levels, but you definitely don't want to listen to me out of breath panting along. So there we go, beautiful little section. This is where last year we had a couple of people, I do mean a couple, as in 2 or 3 people sort of went a little bit wrong. So I'm going to signpost it better, and the plan is to have a marshal here as well for most of the event, or for the beginning anyway. So you will come running up here and you'll keep going, and then on this post here will be a left arrow sending you that way. And then you're going to run around, you're going to go, woo, we're in the forest, we're in the forest, we're in the forest. And then in about 4 miles time, you're then going to come running down that track there. You're going to get back to this post, which will then have a right arrow on it, making you go that way. What we had last year, where people were getting to this post all in a bit of a fluster, and rather than looking at the arrow that's in front of them, they then looked at the post, looked at all the different arrows, and then were like, oh, I don't know where I'm going. And so the first rule of trail running is you follow the arrow that is in front of you, because there will be a couple of little T-junctions, or crossroads, not T-junctions, crossroads, but if you follow the arrow that's in front of you, you will go the right way. So the plan is to have a marshal out on that corner to make it even easier. I'll let the marshal know the distances that people will be doing when they get there as well, and if they've done 5 miles they should go right, if they've done 1 mile they should go left, and so on and so on. But like I say, out of, I think, so that's only relevant to the 10k and the half marathon runners. Out of 200 odd people, 250 people, something like that, there were 2 or 3 people from memory that got confused there. I think it was their first time doing trail running. They weren't used to doing, I think they were new to events, but they were definitely new to trail running. And so it is a bit different. If you've only ever done parkrun, or you've only ever done a big city 10k where the whole route is taped off, and unless you jump a fence you can't go wrong, it is a little bit different. So I get that. So we're gonna try and counter that to make sure that all you've got to do is focus on where you're going. Just for those that haven't done one of our events before, I pride myself on marking these things with an inch of their life. So there will be literally hundreds of arrows out there. For the 10k and the half marathon, you'll be following one colour arrow. I think it's going to be blue, I think, but I'll obviously confirm that on the day. And so you'll be following the blue arrows, and for the marathon and the 50k runners you'll be following the red arrows. So there's absolutely no way you're going to get lost going around the forest. The only way you can get lost is if you are chatting to the person next to you and not looking forwards, which does happen, but that's fine. There will be arrows every 50 to 100 meters. There will be tons and tons of arrows. So never ever worry about getting lost when you come to do a big bear event, because I will mark it so that you don't. If however you do want to have that little bit of backup, I suppose, then by all means download the GPX, which you can then add that route onto your watch if you've got a Garmin or something similar, or you can add it onto your phone if you use an OS Maps. If you don't have an OS Maps subscription, a very good app that I use is OSM, and that will then give you step-by-step instructions, like listening to Google Maps in your car, but for running around in the woods. So I use that for events quite often when I'm running them, and they're not signed. But like I say, you don't need to do any of that. It will be signed really well. Obviously it's an open forest, people, and it's rarely kids, people can mess around with the signs. It's normally middle-aged men with dogs, but that rarely happens. Rarely happens. If you are doing the event and you've got kids or teenagers that are coming with you as well, there is now, you can see behind me, a nice little go ape that is here as well, that will be open on the day. No idea when it opens, but it will be open at some point during the event, unless you're the quickest 10k runner around. But it's a lovely little place. Come with the kids. I bring mine quite a lot. They like it here. It's a nice place for bike rides because, as you can see, the ground's pretty decent, and so you can bike around. There'll be a few extra people running about though. It'll be fine. But yeah, go out there is really good. Again, my kids have done that and they quite enjoyed it. Well, they got scared going up the Bigfoot to start with, but they got over that in the end. But it's a very nice little go ape. So this section behind me is the biggest hill on the whole of the course. And if you're watching this and you're thinking, I can't see a hill, that's sort of the point. I mean, when you're here, you are technically going up. Would a ball roll down it? Maybe. but it's not a hill. This is a really flat course. The whole of this section, the whole of the forest is flat. There are obviously some ups and downs. It's not a pool table, but it might as well be. In terms of trail running, it's a pool table. So it's nice and fast, no big hills. Of course, if you're doing the 50k and you're new to it and it's big distance, or the marathon is big distance, it does mean that you've got to sort of manufacture those walking breaks, because they won't come naturally up the big hills because there aren't any. Behind me, where you can see all the trees and that little bit of grass there, is going to be the aid station that is effectively for the 10k and the half marathon runners, but the marathon and the 50k runners can use it as well. However, it will be taken down sort of halfway through the day. So the plan for that aid station is that you will come running up the monstrous hill that you can see behind me at about 3.5 miles ish. You'll then do a left and you'll go down here and get quite muddy. I think I've not been down there yet. And then if you're doing the 10k and the half marathon, your lap then returns down this this road here, and you do another left. So you always turn in left here. So it means the aid station you can visit twice in 10k. So I think it's about 3.5 miles, and then at about 4.5 miles, something like that. So it's quite nice that you can see the aid station twice. If you're doing it on the big lap, on the 8-mile lap for the marathon and the 50k runners, you can obviously visit that, but the horse box car park aid station is really aimed for you, and that is only in about 1.5 miles time. So it's up to you where you want to stop. But like I say, that aid station there will be set up for the whole of the 10k and the half marathon, and then once the last finisher in the half marathon goes past, we'll start to pack that one down. So that won't be there later on for the 50k and the marathon runners, but the other aid station will be, so do not worry. But yeah, so that's where the aid station is going to be, and this really is where you then start to turn off and you start to get into the slightly more wild sections, and where you're probably not going to see another soul who isn't on the course, because a lot of these forests work in the same way, where if you're within 1 mile of the cafe and the car park, it's quite busy, but then as soon as you get away from that, there's nobody, and you have the whole place to yourself, and it's lovely. And this will be where, if you're going to see any deer, they'll be behind me, but they'll be running across you as you go through. I'll keep going this way because we might pick one up, but this is the sort of real wilderness bit where it's just you out in the forest and nothing else. So we'll see what it's like as we go through. This section here is where, when we came out on a training run a few years ago, we had one of our runners, Joe, lose her shoe. So this is where we start to get real trail running. You can hear the splashing, you can see me trying to dance around the mud, which I'm doing all right out actually. So we'll see what my shoes look like when we get to the end of this little section. But I cannot highlight enough, I've done 3.5 miles, and this is the worst or best, depending on how you look at it. See, look at that, keeping these trainers clean. This is the worst or best section that I've got to yet. Oh dear, I missed that one. It is not all like this. Some years it has all been like this, and then we turn down to this section, which it might look muddy. I cannot tell you how much better it is than last year. So I've got a wet shoe, I've got a muddy shoe. We'll see how I get on as I go over this section, which I refer to as the shooting gallery. Right, let's see how I go. If you're watching, hopefully it's obvious why I'm not walking backwards along this section. So this section last year was really wet. The whole bit was wet. You can see these sort of like little troughs, but the whole bit was essentially like this. If I can find it, I'll try and get the clip of Helen running through it. jumping into it, losing a shoe. Very, very good clip. Great for social media engagement, but I'll try and patch it in here. But this section is so much better. So again, you can see forestry have been at work clearing some of the trees next to it, which I don't know if necessarily this is true, but it feels like that sort of opens it up a bit more, so you can then go a little bit wider and not have to go straight through the middle. So this section is on the 10k, the half marathon, the marathon and the 50k, so everybody's going to be running along here. If you're doing the 50k, you'll be running along here for, hang on, maths, yes, 4 times, 8, 16, 24, 32, yeah, 4 times. But it is still really beautiful. Like I say, you're not seeing anybody, all out on your own. Yes, I am choosing the I don't want to get too muddy path, but there is a I don't want to get too muddy path. If you want to plough right through the middle of that, knock yourself out, but don't get in my car at the end. But it's wonderful, just so peaceful, really peaceful. I can walk backwards along this bit. So it's just a really nice section of woodland. It's just great fun. It's proper trail running. You're getting muddy, you're getting a bit sloppy, but you can run. As you can see from me getting awfully sweaty. It's still quite warm. It stopped raining. Hopefully the weather looks pretty good for the next week. If we have another week of sort of dry, warmish weather, then there's no reason that these shouldn't have drastically reduced in size. Dancing through the puddles. That these haven't got a lot smaller and that there's even less puddle. But it's going to be nice underfoot. Like I say, I've got my Ultra Lone Peaks on. Ultra will be with us as well, so you can try their shoes on. I'd suggest perfect for these conditions. You do need to have trail shoes on though. If you've not got trail shoes on running this, you're going to fall on your arse, which is fine. And again, I'll try and find a little picture of where Stephen had done that last year. That I'll try and sort of insert here if you're watching. But I don't see why anybody should be doing that this year. It is so much better underfoot than it was last year. So much better. I really can't emphasize that enough. I'm now out of the muddy section that everybody will be doing. My shoes muddy. This section is the first bit where the course splits. So this is now only for the marathon and the 50k runners. Everybody else will have just done a turn just back there, which will be heavily marked. You'll notice that your arrows that are in the trees will suddenly only be one colour rather than having both colours, which is your sign that you've gone wrong if you do get this far. I'll put a little sign up as well that says 50k marathon runners only. So if you're seeing that, turn around, get back on the track, head towards the aid station, and then you'll be on your way home towards the back of the lap, or towards the end of the lap, sorry. So now this is going to be for the marathon and the 50k course. It's generally not as wet underfoot on the other side of the road, so we'll see how it goes when I get there. And if you're watching this, you can tell I've got way too many layers on and I am sweating. This is the road crossing. As you can see, the road's used. Tractor. That car would be going a lot faster if it wasn't for that tractor. So when you get to that road crossing, stop, look, listen, look again, listen, then cross. All right, the 2 seconds that you might save isn't worth dying for, is it? So just be sensible there, please. And then in this car park, just about here, we'll set up the horse box aid station. So this is a smidge over halfway through the lap. It's about 4.5 miles of an 8-mile lap, and that will be set up pretty much the same as the HQ aid station. I think the only difference will be there might not be any hot water, so no hot drinks, but apart from that there'll be all the normal snacks. And I should have said as well, that's also the case for the aid station for the 10k and the half marathon. So you could run a 10k and have a sandwich. Right, that's what we're trying to do here. Right? It's not about trying to do it as fast as you possibly can and not enjoying it. Come to the woods, come to the forest, enjoy your day out, have some fun. If you want to go really fast, by all means do. But if you want to just come and do some trail running, be supported as you go around, not have to think about our route, get a lovely medal and a drink at the end, then we are here for that. So as I've said, people rarely come away from the visitor centre. This is probably as far as you can get away from the visitor centre, and I think one of the most spectacular little views. It's not big open vistas, right? You're not up a mountain, right? I know that, but it's just so beautiful and peaceful. And beyond probably 3 dog walkers a week, people just don't come along this bit. And this is part of the 50k and the marathon route. So I'm going to take this opportunity with a beautiful backdrop just to sort of talk more broadly about TrailFest. So this is the second year of doing it as TrailFest. Originally I had this course set up for the Salcey 50, where we did a 50k and a 50 mile. And they were the only 2 distances that we did. Worked really well, 2 years of doing that. And then it's sort of, I guess, a light bulb moment that probably should have been there from the beginning. But I had a bit of a thought that if we're here, why not put on some shorter distances? And so, because, you know, I want to put events on that everybody wants to come to. It's not meant to be only for people that want to run a long way. I just want people out in the woods enjoying themselves that maybe wouldn't be. All right, no time pressures. We're here for somebody doing a 50k, so, you know, why am I going to make a time limit of an hour and a half on the 10k? I don't care. I'm going to be here for 7 hours, so you take all the time you want. In that second year, it was clear as well that the numbers doing 50k and 50 mile probably weren't quite high enough to sustain it for a weekend event where I have to pay more to use the forest. It's a weekend away that I tried to reduce. So I thought, right, we'll add these extra ones in. And then last year, 50 mile, 50k, marathon, half marathon, 10k. And the 50 mile event, virtually no one here for it. So we've knocked that one on the head. And now our TrailFest events are 50k, marathon, half marathon, 10k. So we're not here for the 50 mile section. However, the time cut-offs effectively have stayed the same. So as much as I'm not going to claim that there is no time cut-off, the time cut-off for 50k is incredibly long. I should know this off the top of my head. I'm going to say 11 hours. I'll correct it if that's not right. But 11 hours for 50k on the flat, absolutely fine. Right, it shouldn't be too challenging for most people that have done the training. I don't think it shouldn't be a barrier, I should say. Hopefully nobody's not signed up because they're worried about the cutoff. That's not my intention at all. Whereas when we had the 50 miler, I know that the cutoff was a bit of a limiting factor for some people, but I couldn't really be here longer because then we'd be getting into the dark. I didn't really want to do that. And being out for an extra 3 or 4 hours for 2 people is a tricky thing to do for volunteers, and sort of as a business decision, to be honest, to be quite blunt. So having the 50k with a really long cut-off, I'm much happier doing that. So that is what TrailFest is. It was really good last year. Had loads of people, especially doing the 10k and the half marathon, where it was clear they'd never been on trail, and it was brilliant. I absolutely love that. You see some questionable choices in shoes, sort of white Converse, that sort of thing. but it's all good spirited, so I really enjoy that. This section here, weirdest thing. So this is technically the Woodpecker Trail in reverse that we are on, and in that bush just to the side of me there, when I was running this maybe the first time, a woodpecker fell out the tree and got stuck in the bush. Flew out on its own in the end, but I don't think I've ever seen a bird fall out of a tree, let alone a woodpecker on the Woodpecker Trail. I don't think I got a video of it. I think I got a picture. Again, if I can find it, I'll try and insert it here if you're watching. But this section that I've been talking through is beautiful, really windy, little single track, really good underfoot, really good. So there's a tiny bit of squelch that you might be able to hear, but I'm not slipping and sliding, mainly because I've got the excellent Ultra Lone Peak 9 Plus with Vibram soles. I don't know what their selling points are for those, but I know I really like them. But it's good running. If you want to come and run fast, then you can do that here. If you want to come and just enjoy being out in the forest on your own, you can do that as well. This is quite thick mud, which actually, now I've started going through it, oh dear, either I'm going to fall over, or it might just be easier just to plough right through, to be honest. It's actually quite thick in the middle. You can see somebody's fashioned together a rudimentary bridge out of some branches. This is not cheating. You're allowed to use the bridge. There you go. Just to highlight again, if you're watching this and you're entering your first ever 10k and you've never done trail running before, this is just a very small section of the course. This specific bit isn't even on the 10k course, but the bits that were earlier that are muddy and sticky, that is the exception, not the rule. So most of this course is on hard packed stone, which you could run in road shoes really comfortably, but given these sections, I would 1,000,000% recommend trail shoes. As I said, Sarah and Ultra will be with us on the Sunday. You can borrow their shoes for the day. Sarah will love cleaning all those at the end of the event, but you can try their trail shoes out if you're new to trail running and you don't have any trail shoes. They'll be there for you to use. As I always say, never wear white shoes. You never wear white shoes to one of these events, and if you do, you won't be going home with white shoes. But this section is quite sticky. They've done quite a lot of work here over the last 18 months. I think it's made it quite compact. But if I show you this section again, you can see already a dry path has effectively been carved out where people have been going along, and you can easily just go along that way if you're all about the shortest possible route and sticking to the hypothetical blue line that you'd get if you were doing London Marathon. Then just plough straight through the mud. None of this is that bad, really. So another beautiful little bit that I love adding this bit. So you come off the path, down over this little bridge, and then just through the deep forest. Absolutely love it. Just such a nice little addition towards the end of the lap, rather than sticking to the path. You just cut through the forest and then just come out on the path at the other end. This has pleased me to see all these trees here. So this section I named Log Pile House because in the first year we were here it was much like this, and if you've had children in the last 25 years and you've read the Gruffalo, you'll know that the snake lives in a log pile house. So I thought, oh, that's quite funny. But then last year when we were here, there were no logs, just a sign that said log pile house, which made absolutely no sense to anybody who wasn't here in the previous years. This is just towards the end of the lap, about half a mile left. We come off the path, you can see behind me, you can hear under my feet, we're coming off the last little section of off-road.
And again, beautiful, really, really nice running. It's just soft underfoot, but you're not drowning in mud. This is very much runnable. And I reckon in a week's time, 10 days time, this will be close to perfect trail conditions. So I'm showing you this bit so you can compare it with last year's. You can see what it's like there, and you'll see what it was like last year in a moment as well. Cheers! This is how the lap finishes, or the last little bit before the finish, I guess, for the marathon and 50k runners. Again, another bit of the woodland that people just don't come along. We're very, very close to the car park now, but nobody ever comes along these sections because you get muddy, and so people don't want to come and get muddy. They tend to just leave these bits, but it's just so nice, so peaceful. Again, lovely underfoot, great running, dipping and ducking under some of the trees that have come down. Absolute joyous. If you're running the 50k marathon, you'll be doing a little left turn into this. If you're running the other routes, you'll be doing a little right turn into this. But this is the final stretch before you get back to the car park. And I think I've said this on nearly every single clip that I've done. This section was awful last year because it had, I don't know, maybe towards the end of the event, probably 500 people go across it. It just churned up massively. I remember coming to get the last couple of signs on this section, and I hadn't quite realised quite how bad that course was, or good if you like that sort of thing. But I was all over the place. I obviously just had some boots on rather than trail shoes, but I was slipping and sliding all over the place. So my admiration for those that had done 50 miles out here just went up another notch. But this is really nice underfoot, tiny bit sloppy, but again, a week's dry weather, I'm sure it'll dry up just to that perfect level, and it's just a really nice little way to finish the course. So this is then the finish area. So that car park that's full of cars, none of those will be there apart from some volunteers. You'll be able to see the big start finish arch. You run underneath that, and that's the finish. If you've got more laps to do, you go back out. If you're doing the 10k and the half marathon, you only ever see that once for the finish. Like I say, none of these cars will be here, just a few volunteer ones, and then we'll fly straight through. This is the after photo. Yeah, I got pretty muddy, quite a few little splashes, but it really isn't too bad underfoot, and there's lots and lots of the running, but it's like this, very much a running course. Hopefully, if this has all come together nicely, you'll have just seen a little flyby of the routes that are here for TrailFest in about 2 weeks time, less than 2 weeks time, for the 10k, the half marathon, the marathon and the 50k. If you're on the fence at all, don't be, sign up. It's going to be great fun. All the details are on the website. Any questions, ask in the Facebook group or email me directly. But it's just going to be a really good fun day in the forest, followed by a bit of coffee and cake. So we'll have all our aid station out. We'll look after you as best we can. We've got all the medals, got all the bibs. We've got an actual chip timing company in to do this event as well, which is good. So it means that I can spend more time chatting effectively and having hot chocolates. So it's going to be great fun. If it's all worked out properly, this is also going to be the majority of the next episode of the Trail Times podcast, which, if it isn't, this bit will never see the light of day. But I quite enjoy coming to do these runs, so I think what we'll do is, I need to do more recording at the venues anyway, so I might incorporate some of these little runs into future episodes. If you like that, let me know. If you don't, let me know as well. Always keen to put stuff out that people want to listen to and that people want to watch as well.
Hopefully you enjoyed my trip around the forest. I realised while putting it together that I did tend to repeat myself about it being good conditions underfoot, but I really couldn't get over just how different it was to videos that I was sent from people not that long ago, and how different it was from last year's events as well. That event, like I say, entries still open. Entries will close for that event on Thursday, the 5th, 4th, 3rd of April. So if you want to run, get your entries in then. Entries for the 10k and the half marathon are selling really well, so I expect those to sell out. So do make sure, if you want to come and run around with us and have fun in the woods on a Sunday, then that you get entered quickly. The plan is, obviously that's an 8-mile loop, so there's more to go around and more bits to highlight. But the plan is to try and get out to all of the venues coming up and do similar sort of videos. If that sounds good, let me know. If that sounds bad, let me know. But it means that I can sort of explain to people a bit more what they can expect when they sign up to an event that is in a venue they've never been to. I've got really short taster videos on the Big Bear Events YouTube channel, but they are sort of 45-second fly-throughs of bing, 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 this is what it is, rather than a bit of me chatting and trying to highlight some of the key spots. Also on the YouTube channel are videos showing you about where the toilets are, how to pay, where we're set up and things like that. The idea, as always, being that you can turn up on the day, no anxious thoughts, no anxiety, you know what's going on, you can just come and enjoy yourself. So that's the idea. Anyway, next episode will be out probably after TrailFest, I would imagine. So enjoy yourselves. Hopefully I'll see you at TrailFest. Hopefully I'll get lots of interviews with people there as well, and we'll have a really, really good post-TrailFest podcast coming up.